Here's an actual look at some code using lists. I was thinking about some work other people showed me recently, and I don't even know what the assignment was, but it was something about dealing out cards. So I made a card class file. It's super simple. Cards just have a name and a value. There aren't even any methods. So this is pretty straightforward. Then I made a form that's maybe a little bit like a simplified Lab 4. Very simplified. It features a list of card objects, and I might call that a deck. Although I didn't make any deck class or deck object, I'm just going to call it that. It'll perform some operations on this list of cards, so here's a declaration of the deck. The buildDeck function takes no parameters and returns a list of cards. It has a nested for loop that will create a card for each suit and value combination and add that to the deck. The shuffle function takes a deck of cards and returns a deck. So in this function, another list of cards is being declared called shuffled deck, and it's going to be populated with cards in a different order. This is unrelated to Lab 4, but it's sort of interesting. My method for assigning a shuffled list of cards is declaring a blank deck, then adding the first card, and then it chooses a random index in the new deck and inserts the next card there. Since it's inserting into the new deck at random positions, even though the original deck is completely in order, it returns a nicely randomized deck. On load, the form builds a deck. And that's pretty much it. When the View Deck button is clicked, it uses For Each Card in Deck Play to go through each card and write its properties to a text box on the form, in sequence. When the Shuffle button is clicked, it just calls the Shuffle method and assigns this value back to Deck in Play. It also clears the text box, since any information in the text box would no longer be accurate. When the Reset button is clicked, it simply calls the buildDeck method again, which just sets the cards back to their default unshuffled state, just like when you open a new pack of cards. This one also clears the text box, since if the text box displayed the cards in a random order, this would be correct too. Really, I could have designed this to not have a View Deck button, and then these handlers wouldn't have to clear the text box, but I think this point is worth making. Your programs for labs should never have incorrect calculations on the screen at any given time, so anytime you've changed something that would make that calculation incorrect, you would clear the screen, and most people have been doing that. Let's have a look at the actual form now. It is nothing spectacular. Well, there's a custom icon. There's no min-max buttons. There are tooltips. There's an accept button and a cancel button. Tab order's been set. Wow, this might actually pass. Not center screen though. I've already explained what this is supposed to do, but let's demonstrate anyway. Here's the basic deck. All the suit and value combinations are represented there. And if I shuffle it, that clears the text box, view the deck. It's now been randomized. I can shuffle it again, which clears the text box and view deck. It's been randomized differently. At any time I want, I can reset it and view the deck, and it's back in its default state. Stretching things a little bit, I think this is going to be useful as a representation of some of the things you'll have to do for Lab 4.